everybody, haere mai ki te wiki o te reo Māori. Happy Māori Language Week. You're watching Herald Now. I'm Ryan Bridge. It is Friday, the 19th of September. Great to have your company. On the show this morning, we go to the coalface of this country's manufacturing industry this morning with a business owner who says we're in critical free fall. We're covering the GDP fallout first up. Jared Kerr from Kiwibank here also. He's got a strong message for the RBNZ. New details from the shooting of Tom Phillips on the timeline and who fired that fatal shot. Herald investigative reporter Michael Morra has new details. And it's crunch time for Liam Lawson ahead of this weekend's Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The Kiwi F1 driver talks about his future. Yes, we're hearing from Liam Lawson this morning. Plus, the politics panel, Nationals' Paul Goldsmith and Labour's Priyanka Radhakrishnan are at the desk. All ahead. First up, Neva with headlines.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Calls for the Reserve Bank to respond swiftly to the latest shock drop in GDP. Our economies contracted 0.9% in the June quarter. Kiwibank Chief Economist Jared Kerr says the OCR needs to be cut from 3% to 2.5% as soon as possible and may need to go as low as 2%. He says we should not be seeing another large contraction after last year's severe recession. Kerr says the Reserve Bank hasn't been doing its job and needs to show leadership rather than simply following outdated data. Sir Roger Douglas says Nicola Willis is no longer up to the job. The former finance minister is calling for the current finance minister to resign. Douglas says Willis is sending New Zealand bankrupt by failing to get to grips with ballooning fiscal deficits and public debt. He says she must stop fiddling while Rome burns. More jobs are being advertised, but job seekers are still facing stiff competition for roles. Job website Seeks reporting a 4% annual rise in job ads, the first year-on-year increase in 3 years. But applications per job have also increased to a new record high. Seek Country Manager Rob Clark says most roles are proving easy to fill, but some are not.
Still really competitive if you're a job seeker, but we still see for highly skilled roles a shortage of talent.
The biggest growth is in manufacturing, transport, logistics, trades and real estate. Fear from victims as the number of people escaping electronic bail grows by the hundreds. Figures released to Newstalk ZB show cases of people absconding from bail involving ankle bracelets rose from 64 in 2015 to 832 last year. As a proportion of individuals on electronic bail, it's an increase from 5% to 14%. The government's chief victims advisor, Ruth Money, says bail is already a very emotional and anxiety-inducing time for victims. Donald Trump is on his way home after a state visit to the United Kingdom. After private talks, Trump and Prime Minister Keir Starmer held a press conference. When asked about Starmer's plan to recognise a Palestinian state, Trump said they disagreed on that score. And he says they want the fighting to stop, but claims Hamas is threatening to use hostages as human shields. Young readers are continuing to pick timeless favourites from the bookshelves. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series returns to the #1 spot, with Dave Pilkey's Dogman series in second. Linley Dodd's classic Harry McCleary from Donaldson's Dairy fills third place in Whitcoul's Kids Top 50 Books list for 2025.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone has set the fastest time in the women's 400 metres since 1985, clocking 47.78 seconds to win at the World Championships. The Roosters have handed Victor Radley a 10-match suspension without pay and ordered him to make a $34,000 cancer research donation after his exposure for hunting out illegal drugs. Jose Mourinho is to coach Benfica, the Portuguese football club where his managerial career began 25 years ago.
It is 7:04 on Herald Now. So the guns are out, the blame game's on. Has Nicola Willis failed on growth in her so-called year of growth? So far, yes, she has. We've gone essentially nowhere in 6 months. Q2 basically wipes out Q1. Should she resign? Nah. Why? Trump's tariffs. Nobody saw them coming. Markets thought he was bluffing. It was just a negotiation tactic, remember, until he wasn't. Businesses and mums and dads here sat on their cash to wait it out, which is a reasonable response to an uncertain future. Should she borrow and spend more? she can't politically, but also the interest tab's nearing $10 billion a year, and the ratings agencies are watching closely. Adrian Orr and the Reserve Bank cop the biggest blame for the long and drawn-out pain that we're still seeing today. Fiscal and monetary policy worked hand in hand to overcook the economy, and what goes up must come down. What goes up really high must come down really hard, and boy does it hurt. As for those calls from Douglas & Co for Willis's head on a stake, you've got to ask exactly what it is that they want and what impact it would have. Had she gone full Ruth Richardson on it, yes, the books would be back in black sooner, which is what these guys want. That growth number that we saw yesterday, though, the one that prompted the press release calling for her scalp, would have been a hell of a lot worse than negative 0.9. So the waiting game continues, which is cold comfort for many people, and we're about to hear about that on the program. But the medicine for such a nasty illness was always going to be hard to swallow.
Herald Now weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Ata Maria, good morning. Compared to the week we've had, the weather today is much calmer. That southwest flow over us weakens with a ridge building in. It is short-lived. A new front over the Tasman Sea heads our way for the weekend. So we will enjoy the fine skies today. Even some frost here this morning. Southwesterlies first up, turning north or northwest from this afternoon. Now, the last of the showers clear out this morning for the upper half of the island, leaving a lovely afternoon. Gone, though, are those mild temperatures, back to a high of only 12 for Christchurch. Ki te Ika a Maui to the North Island. A few showers this morning, but they are clearing, gone by midday. Strong southerlies for Wellington will ease this afternoon. Cloudy periods with showers developing this morning out east, but it does clear this afternoon. Winds shift around, southeasterly expected later today for Tauranga, Rotorua and Taupō. And mainly fine for the upper north. Yes, still a few showers around, but nothing too disruptive with southwesterlies across the day.
Just gone 6 after 7. We'll get to our political panel shortly. We'll also hear from Jared Kerr at Kiwibank. I just wanted to quickly clarify something with you. So yesterday there was a bit of reporting about the Prime Minister having confidence in Nicola Willis after those calls for her to resign. So I asked the Minister this morning, I said, I got a quick question. Did you offer to resign over that Q2 GDP read yesterday? And she's just come back saying absolutely not. There's been some misreporting on this. I said that the PM still had confidence in me in response to a question, and that's been written up as me asking him. I had not spoken to him ahead of the press conference and have had no reason to ask the question. His confidence in me is clear from our regular engagements, says the Minister on the economy. Saw him last night, and the idea of resignation certainly didn't come up. It is 7:07 now. So the GDP number we're talking about went backwards almost 1% for Q2. Nicola Willis yesterday blaming Trump's tariffs, not the tariffs themselves, but the chilling effect.
The economy had been growing strongly in the previous 6 months, but suddenly had the stuffing knocked out of it. And I feel for all those people and businesses who have been affected, and I think this data reflects sentiment that was already widely understood on the ground.
Manufacturing, one of the hardest hit industries, down 3.5%. Chris Barrett is director at Steelworks Group in Auckland and joins me now at the desk. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Can you just give us an idea? We saw that number on manufacturing. What it is you do? What does the business do?
Two of our businesses are residential and commercial structural steel. One's just metalwork, which means nothing to you, but it's stainless aluminium. It's all the nice parts that go into a building. Pretty much we do a one-stop shop. We've invested heavily since COVID, probably $30+ million. We just built a $15 million factory, like state-of-the-art gear. And as soon as it was done, we just watched the economy just flatline. So went from 45 staff down to 28. Luckily, in the last few weeks, we've picked up a lot of work. I think I've hired 8 or 9 people in the last 2 weeks. But everybody I talk to when I ring for reference checks, every single manager or owner of the business I'm talking to are in critical freefall. Absolutely no business, no opportunities. Everyone can see some grass shoots, but in our business, by the time you quote, then draw, then manufacture and install before you get paid, you're talking 4, maybe 5 months. So even if we see shoots now, nothing's going to happen till next year.
Do you think there'll be some who won't be able to hold on?
Some of the people that I talk to are already deciding whether they walk away because of their age, whether they re-image themselves, whether they go to the bank and try and get some more funds. Most of us are already using our own funds. I mean, as I've said, we borrowed a lot of money from BNZ. They've been brilliant to us. Can't speak highly enough of them. But when we had assets galore as we were growing, they don't look at that now. They look at our affordability, whether we can pay it back. And having assets that we've got to pay for, no income to pay for them, then obviously we don't have affordability. So everything goes to shit in the blanket, basically. It's gone downhill.
Did you watch that number, the press conference, saw the number yesterday about GDP? Obviously, that was no surprise.
That's the average. That's 0.9 minus across New Zealand. Our manufacturing's minus double that. It's 1.8. And you only have to look around. Everyone I talk to is trying to put their own money in. The banks are, we're the pariahs, and I don't say that in a bad way, but from a bank's point of view, they don't want to put any more investment into an industry that's literally at the bottom. When we come back, it's like all banks, they want to give you money when you don't need it, and when you do need it, they're scarce to find. But saying that, we'll get through. We're lucky. A lot of people won't. And the one thing that really irks me is we voted for change from the last government, and then obviously with no money, they've set the IRD, the ACC and everyone onto us. When we've got no money, the last thing we need is the people we voted for change to come after us. So that's probably one of the things we as business owners see as an injustice. But I guess from their point of view, they've got to get the money that they're owed. But there's ways to do it, especially when we're taking the hit. We didn't create it, the Reserve Bank did.
Exactly. So that's my next question: is who do you? And it's kind of a dumb political question in a way,
No, it's
but
not.
Do you know who do you blame, or who can get us out of it? Is it actually the government's job to somehow fix this?
Well, you understand the judiciary and the legislative are not supposed to play with each other. They've got to have that distance. Grant Robertson should never have forced his hand with the Reserve Bank, in my opinion. Obviously, the Reserve Bank's job is to maintain a percentage for inflation. It's pretty much their only job. All the other stuff's to create that one issue, and they missed quarter two. Everyone was speculating that after last year and this year, quarter three would be 100 miles an hour, which means quarter two had to fire, and they missed it. And it's the only job they've got. So, we're sitting here having to fund our way through their mistakes, and it's a bitter pill for us watching when we've invested heavily for the future for our staff. Our three companies are immigration accredited. We've got to keep the staff on for 30 hours a week or let them go. The whole point of bringing them to the country was to grow our group, and now we can't do that. And we've lost some really good people because we just couldn't get out of his system. We're like observers watching the demise of the country, and it's been a very hard thing to have to swallow.
How's everyone doing emotionally, other business owners?
Well, I know how I've felt, and I've said to my bank, I can understand how people get suicidal when you've got that much debt, trying to keep your staff, trying to work through issues that are thrown at you from day to day. We've got IRD, we're up to date with everything, but you see council, we've got lots of properties as well. So there's no respite for us. If the market's down 50 or 70% in our industry and rates go up when the value goes down, and every single government department comes after us and there's no respite for us, it's like no sales and exceedingly high expenses. You know what that does. IRD's 37% of all liquidations in New Zealand at the moment. So where's the good news?
There isn't much. Now, I know, Chris, we had a chat before you came on, and you said, look, I don't want to sound like the Grinch.
And I don't.
And but it's important that people, understand and hear what's really going on. You said in the last couple of weeks things have started to pick up a bit.
For us.
For you, are you hopeful about the future now?
I'm still concerned that, we've picked up many millions of dollars of work, but most people are lucky if they pick up 100,000 at the moment. We see it as a bubble at the moment that may expire at the early new year. December's not going to be a great month, it never is. January, most of the builders are away, so those are the two worst months in construction anyway. we have a lot of work until then. What I don't know after hiring all these people to get through it is, will there be an opportunity for them to stay on afterwards? So I don't know if this is a 4 or 5 month blip, nice blip for us, or if it's the end of something for another 6 months. So there's still a huge amount of uncertainty.
Chris, really appreciate you coming on this morning to explain that to us, mate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Barrett, Director at Steelworks Group. So manufacturing down 3.5% and construction down 1.8% in those latest numbers. Time now 7:15. Listening into that was Jared Kerr, Chief Economist at Kiwibank. Jared, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, what did you make of that?
Oh, look, I think we have found ourselves in a situation where we're just not recovering as we expected. The recession of last year was harsh, it was deep, it was painful for many businesses, as discussed. And a lot of those businesses were coming into this year saying, well, you know what, we're going to rebound. The Reserve Bank's going to do the right thing and they're going to cut interest rates and we're going to rebound. Well, now we're most of our way through 2025 and we have not seen the rebound. And that is incredibly frustrating for business owners. They're not where they need to be. Many are going under.
Jared, does the fact that we've now dipped lower, we've gone lower than we thought we would in Q2, does that mean that we won't pop out as high in Q3? Are you bringing down your forecast for Q3?
We've already got pretty weak forecasts for Q3 and Q4. There's been a little bit of revisions in the data. So the second quarter print was much worse than we thought, but the first quarter was revised higher a little bit. We might bounce out a little stronger in Q3, but the main point is, where are we today relative to last year? And we're down 0.6%. We're down. We're supposed to be up. We're supposed to be recovering. So, there's a few things going on a quarterly basis, but we are down compared to last year. And compared to last year, we were in the middle of a really bad recession. Yeah. So this is not the recovery we needed.
No, but is that not the fault of Trump and his tariffs and the uncertainty it created? And hopefully that's a one-off shock that we will now move past.
Yeah, you can put some blame on the international backdrop, but actually it's the external part of our economy that's doing really well. Our exporters are doing well. They're getting paid, high commodity prices, particularly in dairy, meat. They're getting paid quite well. It's the other parts of the Kiwi economy that are not exposed to tariffs that are doing really, really poorly. We can't really blame the tariffs. And we've got a 15% tariff, and I don't think that's going to have much impact on our exports at all.
How low do you think they should go for? This is the RBNZ with the OCR. I know you're calling for 50. The next meeting, some are saying get as low as 2, others 2.25. Where do you reckon we need to get to and by when?
Yes, a good question. I think, we're at a point now where the RBNZ's found themselves, behind the data again and being reactive rather than proactive, rather than actually leading the economy to where it needs to be. I think we need a central bank to come in and start leading, and that means they should deliver a 50 basis point cut in October, get it down to 2.5%, and then I think we need to have a serious discussion about going down to 2% to provide some stimulus to an economy which is clearly struggling.
Jared Kerr, Kiwibank, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you. 7:19. We would love your feedback this morning to Jared and also to Chris, who generously gave up his time. He'd normally be in at work at 5, he says, or up at 5 at least, and there by past. So he's coming early to give us an idea of what it's like in his industry. Flick us an email, ryan@nzherald.co.nz. That's ryan@nzherald.co.nz. Paul Goldsmith is with National. Priyanka Radhakrishnan is here from Labour for our Friday political panel. Good morning.
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 Good to see you both. Priyanka, is Labour, because we've had Roger Douglas, a whole bunch of people saying Nicola Willis needs to resign. Does Labour reckon she needs to resign?
Well, National campaigned on getting the country back on track, but they're derailing the economy. What we're seeing is record numbers of people leaving New Zealand, 73,400 just in the last year. We're seeing businesses struggle to stay afloat, close to 3,000 shutting down. The productive economy is failing. So construction, we've seen 19,000 job losses since this government took office. Yeah, maybe she should.
Okay, so Labor reckons, get time to go. What about you, Minister? Do you still have confidence in the plan? Is the plan working?
Yes. Look, it's. I think everybody expected that this second quarter was going to be tough, and it was tougher than expected. We had some momentum in the first quarter of this year. It fell away in the second quarter, and that just redoubles the focus that we need to get growth back into the economy. Now, where do you get growth? Ultimately, you get growth from investment. Which
no one was doing.
Well, that's right, and we had a very huge amount of global uncertainty, which didn't help. But as a country, of course, we're getting over the party of high inflation and big spending and debt that we inherited, and that was never going to be easy. But our plan to get the growth going back again is around encouraging investment. The biggest thing we did in the budget was having the instant write-off for business investment, which was a huge program, and it is filtering its way through. But it's tough out there. There's no question about that.
All right, so stick to the plan. There's not going to be any change from you guys. You're not going to be going out and spending anything more to try and encourage growth.
Well,
anything more than what you're already doing.
I mean, look, you hear all the people running around saying we should, people should resign because we haven't cut spending enough, and then there's other people saying we should be spending more. And what we need to do is, hold our nerve, stick with the plan, and focus on getting the essentials right, which is inflation down, interest rates down, reducing the cost of business, and also, we're going to see huge progress with the fast-track legislation and things going through.
What did you make of what Chris said about, the IRD has been set on these businesses? A lot of them voted for you guys, Minister, and now they are facing these really tough times, and they're being, taken through the liquidators by IRD.
I mean, through all of this, Paul says they need to stay the course and hold fire. And meanwhile, Kiwis are struggling. I mean, the cost of food is going up. People are struggling to pay the bills. We're not in government. They're in government.
No, I know, but
they need to take
they would increase taxes. That's what they'd do.
They'll
increase taxes and make life even more difficult.
So what was that, Priyanka?
We would focus on what people are asking for now, which is job creation, homes that people can afford and won't make them sick, and healthcare that they can access, all of which this government is failing on.
So you'd be spending more than what they're spending on it?
It's not necessarily about how much you spend, it's what you spend on as well.
Right.
I mean, the productive
so what are
economy,
they spending on? What are they spending on now that you wouldn't?
They're spending on tobacco companies instead of healthcare, property speculators instead of first home buyers. None of those things.
So you'd reverse the interest deductibility?
Well, they scrapped the first home buyers grant that we brought in place.
So would you bring that back?
Oh, I'm not announcing policy.
See, this is the
here
thing.
today,
This is the
but
problem,
we're in
Priyanka, with
opposition,
respect.
Ryan.
With respect, yeah, I know. But it's kind of frustrating for people at home when you come in and say, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, but then you don't commit to doing anything.
We will when there is an election and people can vote for change.
I'll give you this prophecy.
Our job now is to hold the government to account.
All right. Yes. I know one thing they will do, and they'll increase taxes, and they want to increase tax and capital gains taxes. There's all talk about that. But the point is, I said, how do you get growth? You get growth from investment. And if the solution to that from Labor is to tax investment more through capital gains taxes and so forth, well, it doesn't seem like a good plan to me.
Let's talk about that, because there was an interesting poll out this week from Radio New Zealand on capital gains tax.
Yes.
It showed, excluding the family home, there was more support for such a tax than against it.
Yeah, well, of course, it was a typical question, but what people might often forget is capital gains tax will, that'll impose on your KiwiSaver. That'll increase tax on your KiwiSaver, because a big chunk of the gains in your KiwiSaver accounts every year is capital gains. So you'll be paying more tax on that as well if you have a capital gains tax. And I think if people understood that, they wouldn't be quite so keen on it.
Is that something you'd be ruling out? Sounds a bit scary.
I mean, look, we have said quite clearly
they don't make policy.
That we will. No, we
well, it'll come up. It'll come at some point.
All in the right time. We will announce it by the end of the year.
All right.
Yes.
Do you know when, like roughly? I'm getting impatient, Priyanka.
Well, I mean, we're almost at the end of the year, aren't we? So.
Yeah, I know. Hey, David Seymour, and it's interesting, isn't it, watching all this play out, Priyanka? David Seymour, this is on Gaza and Winston Peters. And obviously the government's got a big decision to make on recognising Palestine, or whether to do that or not, what to say at the UN. And David Seymour comes out and says, well, I would never do that because it's, at the moment run by terrorists who have got hostages. So what do you make of that?
It is interesting watching it play out. It's clearly a rather dysfunctional coalition where the Prime Minister can't manage his coalition partners. They make decisions in Cabinet and then they don't tell New Zealanders. And they say, well, wait till the Foreign Minister announces it in his speech in New York. I mean, why? Why should we wait? Tell us now.
Well, it's perfectly okay for the Foreign Minister to make such an announcement, and he'll do so in due course. Frankly, I found it more entertaining watching the Te Pāti Māori and Labour trying to work out whether they support racist rants against people coming into this country and trying to make to live their lives. And so you've got Takata Ferris out there, you've got Mr. Hipkins over there. So look,
everyone's got problems with the minnows.
Ultimately,
at the moment.
Ultimately, New Zealanders have a choice. Do you stick with a team that is working hard to get the country back on track, or do you go back to Chris Hipkins and the dysfunction that you see across?
While you're being entertained, Paul, people are dying in Palestine. Your government should have moved quicker. And now that they've reached a decision, they should at least tell New Zealanders what it is.
All right. Hey, I didn't realise this until this morning, actually, Priyanka, but you're spokesperson for SIS and GCSB for Labour. Do you get briefed from the Minister on, do you get regular updates?
No. So it's historically been bipartisan in terms of briefings. I know that Chris Hipkins does. He's overall in charge as leader of national security. We sit on the Intelligence and Security Select Committee and get briefed alongside the Minister to an extent through that, but I have never been briefed directly by the Minister.
Ah, would you like to be?
Yes.
Have you asked to be?
I haven't. Maybe I should.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's out there now. Hey, thanks for coming on this morning, guys.
Pleasure.
Good to see you both. That's Priyanka Radhakrishnan from Labour and from National Paul Goldsmith. Time now 26 minutes after 7. The Black Ferns have been rocked by a massive injury blow with the loss of Georgia Miller in the lead up to this weekend's semi-final against Canada. So how will they get on without one of their star players? Taylor Curtis is Sky Sport reporter joining us this morning. Taylor, good morning.
Morning, how's it going?
Good, thank you. Good to have you live from Bristol this morning. What's going on with Georgia? Everybody wants to know. We've heard that there's Herald reporting from a contractor for the Black Ferns, from a video posted online that maybe it's a calf injury. What was it? A sprained hamstring. But now we're not sure what's going on.
I think everyone's really caught up with the fact that there's no Georgia Miller, and I understand because she's such an outrageously good player. But I think we don't need to focus too much on that. This is a semi-final. It's one of the biggest games the Black Ferns have been dealt with in this Rugby World Cup, and it's the biggest rivalry that we've seen in a while for this team. So I think we need to pull the focus away from Georgia Miller at the moment. She is a team player. She wouldn't want the focus to be on her. And the good thing about the Black Ferns is they've had such a good combination through the loose forward trio anyway. So they've prepared for this. They've prepared for the what-if situation. So having Kennedy Tukuafu take her position, she's the co-captain. So, I mean, we're not at a loss there anyway. And, you're going to have to play as a team if you want to beat Canada at the end of the day.
Yeah, Canada's number 2 and they are playing very well.
Yeah, they're putting it lightly. They've grown in the ranks, as we see in World Rugby, but it's just their cohesion together, the mix of 7s and 15s players coming together. It's unbelievable and a lot of growth. They had to fund themselves to get to the Rugby World Cup to begin with, $1 million to get here in the position that they're in. But it's fantastic to have them here. And we've got a great rivalry against them. They drew against us last time in New Zealand in May. And then before that, they beat us for the very first time. But we have had their number in those other occasions, and this will be a completely different Black Ferns side that they have not seen yet.
Taylor, there's a lot of social media reporting, commentary on the lack of media coverage. What do you make about all of it? What's your thoughts on all of this?
Well, I've been there since day dot, so I've seen the rooms grow over the last few days, and I would only say Literally, this Tuesday was the most media I've ever seen at the Black Ferns event ahead of a semi-final. I mean, we could have seen them against Ireland a little bit more, but I understand there are other things happening in the world, but this is one of the biggest Women's Rugby World Cup to date, and we probably should be shedding a lot more light on it.
Hey, I know you said we need to not focus on Georgia Miller, but then as soon as you say that, I just want to, I want to know more. Is it unusual? Yeah. Like, it's such a mystery. Is it unusual for a team to want to? I mean, is there a tactical reason for not wanting to reveal where an injury might be? That sort of thing going on.
I honestly think this is the way that it's going to move forward. I was talking to Ricky Swinell and we were saying she had a great point. She said if there's a medical certificate coming out on a player's injury and stuff, it's like putting like a time mark on it and stuff. But I honestly, we saw her at training. She was running around. She wasn't heavily strapped. So I don't think it's deeply concerning. And I think the Black Ferns want to control a narrative and stay on task. And obviously this is kind of blowing up.
Yeah, okay. Interesting, Taylor, because then, as you say, the timeline becomes important and is she, a potential for the potential final, that sort of thing. Fascinating stuff. Looking forward to the game tomorrow, 6 a.m. Taylor Curtis, Sky Sport reporter. It is 7:30. You're watching Herald Now. Here's Neva with the rest of your morning's headlines.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
Calls for the Reserve Bank to respond swiftly to the latest shock drop in GDP. Our economies contracted 0.9% in the June quarter. Kiwi Bank Chief Economist Jared Kerr says the OCR needs to be cut from 3% to 2.5% as soon as possible and may need to go as low as 2%. He says we should not be seeing another large contraction after last year's severe recession. Kerr says the Reserve Bank hasn't been doing its job and needs to show leadership rather than simply following outdated data. Sir Roger Douglas says Nicola Willis is no longer up to the job. The former finance minister is calling for the current finance minister to resign. Douglas says Willis is sending New Zealand bankrupt by failing to get to grips with ballooning fiscal deficits and public debt. He says she must stop fiddling while Rome burns. More jobs are being advertised, but job seekers are still facing stiff competition for roles. Job website Seeks reporting a 4% annual rise in job ads, the first year-on-year increase in 3 years. But applications per job have also increased to a new record high. Seek Country Manager Rob Clark says most roles are proving easy to fill, but some are not.
Still really competitive if you're a job seeker, but we still see for highly skilled roles a shortage of talent.
The biggest growth is in manufacturing, transport, logistics, trades and real estate. Fear from victims as the number of people escaping electronic bail grows by the hundreds. Figures released to Newstalk ZB show cases of people absconding from bail involving ankle bracelets rose from 64 in 2015 to 832 last year. As a proportion of individuals on electronic bail, it's an increase from 5% to 14%. The government's chief victims advisor, Ruth Money, says bail is already a very emotional and anxiety-inducing time for victims. Donald Trump is on his way home after a state visit to the United Kingdom. After private talks, Trump and Prime Minister Keir Starmer held a press conference. When asked about Starmer's plan to recognise a Palestinian state, Trump said they disagreed on that score. And he says they want the fighting to stop, but claims Hamas is threatening to use hostages as human shields. Young readers are continuing to pick timeless favourites from the bookshelves. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series returns to the #1 spot, with Dave Pilkey's Dogman series in second. Lynley Dodd's classic Harry McCleary from Donaldson's Dairy fills third place in Whitcoul's Kids Top 50 Books list for 2025.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone has set the fastest time in the women's 400 metres since 1985, clocking 47.78 seconds to win at the World Championships. The Roosters have handed Victor Radley a 10-match suspension without pay and ordered him to make a $34,000 cancer research donation after his exposure for hunting out illegal drugs. Jose Mourinho is to coach Benfica, the Portuguese football club where his managerial career began 25 years ago.
You're watching Herald Now. Don't forget you can flick us an email this morning. We love hearing from you. Ryan at nzherald.co.nz. That's Ryan at nzherald.co.nz. Did you see this business in the US, this Jimmy Kimmel business? I just think the whole thing is completely nuts. The right is now just as guilty as the left on cancel culture. They all need to check themselves. Here's what Jimmy Kimmel said.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them.
All right, so that is the comment. That is the full quote of what Jimmy Kimmel said. Did he incite violence? No. Did he call for a civil war? No. Did he threaten or harm anybody or threaten to harm anybody? No. Was it insensitive? Yes, absolutely, because Charlie Kirk just died. But that is no reason to cancel somebody. Cancelling a talk show host for talking is bonkers.
This is the ultimate in cancel culture.
We're losing our First Amendment rights of freedom of speech.
He says something, that's his opinion, but to cancel the show, to me, that's bizarre.
It's fine if you don't like these comedians, and it's fine if you don't like these shows, but what if you say something that someone doesn't like?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because generally, it would be the so-called far left more into cancelling people for having strong or outrageous opinions. But now you're seeing the far right do the same thing. So they should both be ashamed for the same position, because the more that we cancel people, the less we listen to each other and allow people to have debates, the more divided we become.
Herald Now weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Ata Maria, good morning. Compared to the week we've had, the weather today is much calmer. That southwest flow over us weakens with a ridge building in. It is short-lived. A new front over the Tasman Sea heads our way for the weekend. So we will enjoy the fine skies today. Even some frost here this morning. Southwesterlies first up, turning north or northwest from this afternoon. Now, the last of the showers clear out this morning for the upper half of the island, leaving a lovely afternoon. Gone, though, are those mild temperatures, back to a high of only 12 for Christchurch. Ki te Ika a Maui to the North Island, a few showers this morning, but they are clearing, gone by midday. Strong southerlies for Wellington will ease this afternoon. Cloudy periods with showers developing this morning out east, but it does clear this afternoon. Winds shift around, southeasterly expected later today for Tauranga, Rotorua and Taupō. And mainly fine for the upper north. Yes, still a few showers around, but nothing too disruptive with southwesterlies across the day.
You're watching Herald Now. It is 23 minutes away from 8. Further and new details have been uncovered about the officer who shot and killed fugitive Tom Phillips. The Herald's senior investigative reporter Michael Morris across the details. Michael, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Ryan.
So what new details have you got? What have you learned?
Yes, so sources have confirmed to me, as we know, that there were 2 police cars at the scene the morning that Tom Phillips was shot. The first vehicle had the constable in it who had tracked Phillips up the road, and then Phillips immediately started shooting at least 4 shots into that police officer's car. Of course, he is still recovering in hospital. Immediately after those shots were fired at the first constable, a second patrol unit turned up, and in this vehicle was a dog handler and a member of the Armed Offenders Squad, and it's understood the AOS officer is the one who took the shot that ended it all and took out Phillips. Now this team or unit, these 2 police officers in the second car, is known as a tactical dog team, or TGT.
Right. What is a TGT? Is it a new unit? Has it been around?
Yeah, it is relatively new. So the TGT team, the Tactical Dog Team unit, made up with this dog handler and the AOS officer, was introduced and rolled out nationally around 2 years ago. Now, this was in direct response to efforts to improve frontline police safety as a result of the murder of Constable Matthew Hunt in Auckland's Massey in 2020. So essentially post Matthew Hunt being shot and killed during that routine traffic stop, police at the time did a big review and rolled out a whole lot of new safety improvements. Part of that involved training more officers in armed offender squad tactics. And as a result, you had these tactical dog teams that were deployed around the country. And essentially these units are used to deal with high-risk offenders. The police would not confirm specifically the information that I've been given about the tactical dog teams, but Acting Deputy Commissioner Jill Rogers did tell me yesterday that officers involved in these critical incidents like fatal shootings do get wraparound support. They're put on leave, offered counselling, and there is also a psychological assessment before they're allowed to return to work.
All right, Michael, thank you so much for the update and your reporting this morning. Michael Morra, who is the New Zealand Herald Senior Investigative Reporter with those details. 21 minutes away from 8 o'clock now. Great to have your company. Do flick us an email, ryan@nzherald.co.nz. How are you feeling about that number yesterday? Is it what you felt was happening in the economy? Does it sound about right to you? And even in your own job, in your own workplace, do you feel like, because that was nearly 3 months ago now, do you feel like now things are better, things are on the up? We are slowly but surely digging our way out of that giant ugly hole. A High Court jury in Rotorua is deciding whether Taupo mongrel mob boss Dana Williams shot Black Power's Ryan Woodford at point blank range in an emergency housing motel. Kelly Makiha, the Rotorua Daily Post reporter, has been covering the story and joins me now. Kelly, good morning. Good to see you.
Aaron, how you doing?
Good, thank you. All right, you're across this one. What's going on?
Yeah, look, it's a little bit hot off the press, actually. I just filed the story last night that the jury has come back and returned a guilty verdict relating to Dana Williams and the month-long High Court trial that I've just been covering here in Rotorua. So Dana Williams, he is, for want of a better word, the top dog of the Taupo mongrel mob, and he was accused of shooting at point-blank range patched member from the Black Power, Ryan Woodford. Now, just to take you through what actually happened here is Dana Williams was in fact on remand on electronic monitored bail at a place in Auckland called the Grace Foundation. Now, I could talk all morning about the Grace Foundation and what emerged in the trial, but we don't have time for that this morning. But as it was revealed in the trial, Dana Williams was in fact smoking methamphetamine on a regular basis while on remand in this facility. He was also regularly foiling his bracelet. Now, I don't know, Ryan, if you know what foiling means, but basically this is a tactic that the criminals who are on remand are using to avoid detection and GPS monitoring. And what they do is they stick tinfoil around the bracelet. Now, it's not a how-to. Everyone knows what it is. And it's a little bit of a whoopsie, and they're trying to figure out ways to get around it at the moment. But basically, they're saying that Dana Williams, he foiled his bracelet and he gapped it down to Taupo in the 12-hour period that he was missing and offline. He travelled in convoy with his mongrel mob mates. There were a few cars. They got to Taupo in the early hours of the morning, and of course we're dealing with gang members here who are smoking methamphetamine on a regular basis. Some of them have been up for 7 to 8 days straight. And of course, they're having a meeting at 3:30 in the morning in Taupo, hatching a plan to kill somebody. So what Dana Williams did is he then got into a car with his 2IC, who was a guy called Marty Durham, and they drove around to the Adelphi Motel. And this is about 6:30 in the morning now. The jury, they were played CCTV footage of the actual shooting. You couldn't see the people exactly, but you saw what happened. And Dana Williams is the driver of the car. He pulls up to a motel unit, knocks on the door, and he's yelling out, hey, come to the door. What he's got over his arm, though, is a Black Power patch. Now, bearing in mind, Dana Williams is a mongrel mob member, but he's got a Black Power affiliated patch draped over his gun. And the Crown surmised in the trial that was perhaps to make Ryan open the door, thinking that it was perhaps one of his bros on the other side. So he's yelling out, hey, come to the door, knock. And out comes Ryan Woodford, opens the door, and boom, just fires one shot, and he falls down and dies a short time later. He died in front of his partner and his children. So it was horrific scenes that were played in that CCTV footage to the jury. He then gets into cars. A whole lot of his mongrel mob mates mates help him back to Auckland. They try to avoid CCTV footage as best they can. At one point, you can see them getting out of the car and they're like using a broom or a pole or something to move the CCTV camera up to avoid detection. But Taina Williams made a mistake when he got to Te Awamutu, and he parks right in front of a CCTV camera. Out he hops, doing another vehicle swap, and there you see him with the foil on his bracelet getting into another car. So it was a fairly cut and dry case put together by the Crown and by the police, and it took the jury only half a day in the end to return a guilty verdict.
Goodness me, Kelly. It had it all, didn't it?
It did. It really did.
That they have reached that verdict indeed. Kelly Makihard, the Rotorua Daily Post reporter, with the story. It is 16 away from 8 now. Time to talk business with our partners 2 Degrees. The news, our economy shrank by more than expected last quarter. We've been covering this morning, of course, Garth Bray, Business Desk with us. Garth, what are the forecasters, the bank economists in particular, what are they saying now about a 50-point cut? I mean, you have to assume they're going to cut more aggressively than otherwise would have been the case?
Fair assumption. I mean, we were talking, I think you remember earlier this week, about one bank, the BNZ, saying maybe they need to push that floor below 2.5%, the terminal rate that they think that rates will get to. They're not backing down from that, I think, but they are saying they still see about a 25% basis point cut next time and another 25 before the end of the year, so getting to that range before the end of the year. Westpac's come out a bit stronger, said, no, we think we need that 50 straight away, a little bit like Jared Kerr, I think, earlier. Get in there, get it done, get some stimulation happening now, because really the data that came out yesterday showed that it's pretty much farmers buying equipment and people, gradually doing a bit of real estate sales. That's the only thing that's propping anything up. Everything else looked pretty moribund. I guess the problem, though, is there's a little bit of an inflation track in there as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll
Close
see.
to the band.
We'll see probably. I think October 7 is the only signpost on the way to the next RBNZ decision, where there's a quarterly survey of business, and that might give a bit of a clue. But you'd have to be probably quite brave at the RBNZ to be saying, "Oh, we'll go with that," rather than
What are they saying about the projections? Excuse me, the projections for quarter 3, because some are saying, well, now that we've gone lower, we may not go as high as we thought in quarter 3. Is everyone sharing that view or not?
I don't know. No, we're casting around. Certainly, BNZ were talking about a flash forecast to grow 0.7 compared with a 0.3 pick from the bank. So they still think that there's still going to be something coming back. Higher than what they were projecting. But everybody was surprised yesterday, I think, by that 0.9. So we're a pretty uncertain territory. And I think it's great you're asking people what they think this morning, because it's, we obviously need more data.
Exactly. Hey, what's the big Business Desk exclusive today about Stuart Nash?
Yes, occasional panellist, possible New Zealand First member and so on. He was heading off on a business trip to the US alongside the Immigration Minister, Erica Stanford. That got pulled. The official reason, I think, reported at the time was, because he made some rather off-color comments on another webcast or something somewhere, and that got him in trouble. However, he's also been pitching a $16 million investment, part of a group in essential Manuka oils, to potential rich investors who might want to settle here under the that golden visa program. And the pitch documents talk about it having a degree of government backing that doesn't quite exist. This is a tribal natural healthcare investment. And it talks about it qualifying for offer via the Live Deals Board to foreign investors. That's a website or a system that Invest NZ sets up to offer these things under kind of a degree of scrutiny that, you can offer them to these people. And apparently, no, was never on the board, hasn't been on the board yet. The company, which when we reached out to them, said, we've finally got that paperwork through. Business Desk was raising this. Our founding editor, Patrick Smelly's been onto this for the week. He got in touch with Invest NZ, said, hey, what's going on here? Invest NZ's boss was travelling in Saudi Arabia with Roger McClay. Next thing, Roger McClay says, I don't think Stuart needs to be on this trip, and veto, gone. Mr Nash hasn't responded yet. It's highlighted
Is it all a bit shady? Is it just
yeah, but it's also highlighted a problem with, you've got to have some kind of a system for offering these deals to people, but does that then imply, once they're on this board, that they have some sort of government backing, government endorsement? That really isn't there. They're really it's just an offer.
All right. Lastly this morning, a cloud for $1. Very quickly, Garth, what's this about?
The cloud, built for the Rugby World Cup 2011. It was temporary.
Yeah.
Still there.
Great venue.
Still there.
Bit cold, but
great. But the resorts consents and everything are up for it next year. So the council's got to come up with some sort of a plan. The government owns half of it. I think they put about $20 million into buying the wharf, maybe $10 million to buying that. Probably looking at selling it back to the council for for $1 because obviously there'll be some other costs going on to keep it going. Nothing temporary in this country. It always sticks around forever.
It does. Like, the cardboard cathedral things stick around. Garth, thank you for that. 12 minutes away from 8. That's Garth Bray, Business Desk. We talk business every day thanks to our partners, 2 Degrees. Right, let's go to some breaking news now. A magnitude 7.8 earthquake has struck off the coast of Russia. The quake occurred just before 7 our time at a depth of 10 kilometres. Tsunami waves are possible for Pacific coasts within 1,000 kilometres of the epicentre. The US Tsunami Warning System has issued a tsunami alert for Alaska at this point. Just repeating that breaking news, there has been an earthquake off the coast of Russia. There is a tsunami alert that's been issued from the Tsunami Alert Centre in the US Tsunami Warning System. It is at this stage just for Alaska. 11 to 8 now. It's been an active week of weather around the country. Here to give us the weekend's outlook is Met Services' Heather Keats, who is at the desk. Heather, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
Great to see you. Very active week on the weather front, particularly for the south.
Yeah, it's been pretty intense. Lots of wind, lots of rain. It's just spring. It's kind of what we've got. We've got it for another few weeks at least. So yeah, we've had this very strong kind of westerly flow. We've had a couple of active fronts. It's been very unstable. So we've had lots and lots of lightning, especially over the west coast of the South Island over the last few days. And then of course, when you've got that flow coming in from the west, you get the nor'wester, and it's the Fern effect in the eastern side of the South Island. So that's driving up temperatures, very windy. Then it hits Wellington, Wairarapa, and it's windy. And that's what we've seen. Today, however, much calmer. It's actually quite a nice day around the country. There will still be some thunderstorms, so places like Bay of Plenty, including Rotorua, they could see some thunderstorms across the whole day really. There's a moderate risk there, but today's calm, it just doesn't stay calm.
Right, and then we get into the weekend, I'm assuming, Heather?
Yeah, but tomorrow's okay. So the North Island's looking pretty good for tomorrow. We've got a ridge of high pressure and that kind of hangs around for a little bit, but it's super fast moving, so everything kind of flicks over the country pretty quickly. And then on Sunday, we have a similar setup to what we've had earlier in the week. So we're going to see again that heavy rain to the western side of the South Island. We're going to see those strong winds again picking up for the eastern side. It's going to move up on Sunday and impact central New Zealand once more, but it'll drive the temperature back up again. So earlier this week, Christchurch hit 23 degrees. Today, their high is 12. So it's real seesaw kind of weather. It's kind of what we expect though at this time of the year.
Higgledy-piggledy. Term 3 finishes today, so that means we're into school holidays next week. Parents will be very interested to know how things are looking. Yeah,
so best day to travel is probably today and tomorrow before things could kind of pack in again on Sunday. It's going to be very unsettled, especially next week. So the North Island's going to see the bulk of the rain next week. There'll still be this westerly kind of flow, so it's driving those showers that come in from the west. Eastern parts of the country, probably the likeliest to see the finest weather, so dry and still windy, maybe the odd shower, but nothing from like what the western coastlines will see. It's just very unsettled, and we've got that sort of those systems moving through for the next couple of weeks. Not too sure in the second week of the school holidays yet. I'll reserve my judgment, but the first week is certainly looking unsettled, especially for the North Island.
All right, well, we'll wait and get you back for that next Friday. Finally, some get lucky on Monday morning well, hopefully we all do, but this is particularly to do with the solar eclipse, Heather.
Yeah, we've had some luck really with what's been going on in the skies. We had the blood moon only a couple of weeks ago, and then on Monday morning it's a partial solar eclipse. So this means that the moon's going to block the sun partially.
Okay.
So this is one of those things you don't want to look directly at it. And you don't want to put your camera and take a photo directly at it. You need a special solar lens for your DSLRs. It'll burn your sensor, and you've got to wear some fancy glasses. Or just be clever and creative on how you view it with your eyes. But it's pretty cool. But the cloud cover's not looking too great, unfortunately. It's going to be between 6 and 8 a.m. on Monday morning, and obviously the sun will be coming up and then the moon will block the view of the sun. So you're going to have about 60% coverage. The moon will cover 60% of the sun up in Auckland, and then the further south you go, the better that eclipse is going to be, and it's going to be about 72% in Invercargill. However, cloud cover, not great for the North Island. You might get lucky though in the South Island. Southeastern spots should have some clear skies, and it'll be worth getting up and having a look, something special.
Brilliant. Heather, always good to see you. Thank you very much for your updates. Heather Keats from Met Service. Time is 7 away from 8. And you're watching Herald Now. Coming up next, media insider Shane Curry Curry is at the end of the line for a Kiwi icon, and lots to discuss with Shane this morning. Plus, the Finance Minister, Nicola Willis, is with us here after 8. All ahead.
Sing your heart out to Coast's feel-good 80s hits. Kenny Loggins, Whitney, John Farnham, Eurythmics, Bonnie Tyler, Eric Carmen. The most 80s are on Coast. Sing your heart out. Coast.
Of course we can set up the new smart TV for you. We could also put it on the wall for you too.
Want to keep your family safe online? We've got tips for that.
Yeah, I can show you how to use the AI on your laptop.
Teaching the kids to do laundry? These washing machines auto-dispense the perfect amount of detergent, making it super easy to learn.
Wait, what's a Ninja Creamy?
Got tech questions? We've got answers. With 66 stores nationwide, your tech experts ready to help.
After 20 seasons on the footy field, it's fair to say I know a thing or two about resilience, just like Kaiwaka wet weather gear. Digging deep when the going gets tough. Kaiwaka, designed to perform, made to outlast.
We've done few subdivision with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff, always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
It is 5 to 8. You're watching Herald Now. It's Friday, which means it's time to take a peek behind the curtain of the media industry with Shane Curry, New Zealand Herald editor-at-large, who brings us Media Insider and is at the desk this morning. Shane, good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
Good to see you as always.
You too.
What's going on with Briscoes?
We've got a piece in the Herald and the Media Insider column this morning that the long-running advertising agency that looks after Briscoes and Rebel Sport, they've been at it for 36 years. That advertising account's now actually up for pitch for the first time in almost 4 decades. So it's very significant in terms of, A, the amount of money that's involved. I mean, they're a big advertiser in the New Zealand economy, obviously a big retailer, but also just the number of agencies lining up for what will be a pretty lucrative contract. And of course, it raises the question as to the future direction. Will we still see the Briscoes lady front and centre? She's one of our most recognisable, popular advertising characters, and she did tell the Women's Weekly just recently that her contract has been extended. So it remains to be seen just how much of influence or play that she will still have in the campaign.
You cannot have Briscoes without the Briscoes lady. No, you know, they like a 90% off sale. 90% of the customers would desert them if they got rid of it.
That's right. She's been voted in regular polls as one of our most popular, and up there with Tina from Turners and characters like that.
Yeah, and she seems absolutely lovely as well. Whenever I've read the Women's Weekly articles on her, I think down in Christchurch, isn't she? Right, you've got an exclusive this morning. Sky TV has won 3 more years of F1 rights.
Yeah, I mean, that's big news for F1 fans, and of course there's a growing legion of F1 fans in New Zealand, thanks to the Netflix series Drive to Survive and thanks to people like Liam Lawson leading the charge from a driving perspective. But Sky TV, they snatched the rights back from Spark Sport 2 years ago, and I'm expecting an announcement this morning that they will have 3 more years of Formula One. Now, the interesting thing, of course, is Sky's just bought TV3 as a free-to-air partner and platform, and so I also expect that we'll start seeing some free-to-air Formula One races on TV3, in particular the Melbourne Grand Prix next year.
Interesting. I mean, that'll be fantastic for the sport, won't it? As you say, you've got Liam Lawson, you've got all this stuff happening for young Kiwi audiences. To have it also on 3 would be a
well, that's right. And I think the other thing it plays to, and we'll see this roll out in the next 2 or 3 years, is that big free-to-air battle now between TVNZ and TV3 for some pretty big sport. I mean, we've seen TVNZ announce that they have the Football World Cup next year. Sky's got the Olympics coming. Sky's got access to TV3, and you know you've been at TV3 for many years yourself, Ryan. You know that just what live sport can bring to the equation, to the menu.
Absolutely. Hey, David Cohen, this is the unauthorised biography of Jacinda Ardern. She's got her children's book out at the moment and doing a lot of publicity for that in certain circles, not all. But David, the unauthorised biography, there's been a bit of an update on that?
That's right. They've released the unauthorised biography cover this week. Now, that's coincided, as you say, with a lot of the publicity around her children's book and, of course, her authorised biography several weeks ago. David Cohen, who's quite a renowned journalist, he is wrapping up the book right now. It's going to be released later this year. There's a few more chapters, as I understand it, to be completed, a few more interviews to be done, but he's completed something like more than 100 interviews for it, and they're pitching it as the broad-based tell-all kind of biography where we hear the full story of what unfolded around the cabinet table, particularly during the COVID years. Part of the publicity and marketing pitch here is that we've heard one side of the story, almost a puff piece. That's their kind of allegation or assertion. This tells the full story.
All right, interesting. A couple of exec changes over at RNZ.
Yeah, we heard yesterday that Andrew Schusterman, who'll be well known in the TV and screen industry, he's coming onto the board of RNZ next month. Now, that's a very significant move in that it brings a majority now on the RNZ board who have been appointed by this coalition government. And we know that they do want changes. They want to see RNZ lift its radio listening audience and its trust levels. And RNZ is starting to make some inroads there, but they will have a new look board essentially in place from next month. And I expect further changes next year. And at exec level, we've seen the departure or the announced departure this week of their Chief Performance Officer, Glenn Scanlon. He is off to Water Safety to be the Chief Executive there. So there's also changes at the top table of our public broadcaster.
Okay, interesting stuff. You could do worse than Schuster. He's a smart guy and he's a gun. So good to know. Thanks so much for that, Shane. Shane Curry, Media Insider. You can check out all the details, nzherald.co.nz today. Right now, you're watching Herald Now and it's 8 o'clock. G'day, good morning everyone. We've made it to Friday. Thank goodness it is Friday the 19th of September. On the show this hour, 2 flood heroes are being honoured for their bravery during Cyclone Gabrielle. Colin Hurst, who helped rescue 17 people in Hawke's Bay, is in to talk about being awarded the Stanhope Medal for Bravery. Unsafe rural drinking water has seen Canterbury declare a nitrate emergency. Fed Farmers Vice President Colin Hurst on their response to this. He's in after 8:30. Plus, we'll hear from Liam Lawson this morning ahead of this weekend's Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The Kiwi F1 driver talks about his future. Is it with his current team or will he be looking for a new drive next year? Plus, Finance Minister Nicola Willis live in a few minutes. First, Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
Calls for the Reserve Bank to respond swiftly to the latest shock drop in GDP. Our economies contracted 0.9% in the June quarter. Kiwi Bank Chief Economist Jared Kerr says the OCR needs to be cut from 3% to 2.5% as soon as possible and may need to go as low as 2%. He says we should not be seeing another large contraction after last year's severe recession. Kerr says the Reserve Bank hasn't been doing its job and needs to show leadership rather than simply following outdated data. Sir Roger Douglas says Nicola Willis is no longer up to the job. The former Finance Minister is calling for the current Finance Minister to resign. Douglas says Willis is sending New Zealand bankrupt by failing to get to grips with ballooning fiscal deficits and public debt. He says she must stop fiddling while Rome burns. More jobs are being advertised, but job seekers are still facing stiff competition for roles. Job website Seeks reporting a 4% annual rise in job ads, the first year-on-year increase in 3 years. But applications per job have also increased to a new record high. Seek Country Manager Rob Clark says most roles are proving easy to fill, but some are not.
Still really competitive if you're a job seeker, but we still see for highly skilled roles a shortage of talent.
The biggest growth is in manufacturing, transport, logistics, trades and real estate. Fear from victims as the number of people escaping electronic bail grows by the hundreds. Figures released to Newstalk ZB show cases of people absconding from bail involving ankle bracelets rose from 64 in 2015 to 832 last year. As a proportion of individuals on electronic bail, it's an increase from 5% to 14%. The government's chief victims advisor, Ruth Money, says bail is already a very emotional and anxiety-inducing time for victims. Donald Trump is on his way home after a state visit to the United Kingdom. After private talks, Trump and Prime Minister Keir Starmer held a press conference. When asked about Starmer's plan to recognise a Palestinian state, Trump said they disagreed on that score. And he says they want the fighting to stop, but claims Hamas is threatening to use hostages as human shields. Young readers are continuing to pick timeless favourites from the bookshelves. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series returns to the #1 spot, with Dave Pilkey's Dogman series in second. Linley Dodd's classic Harry McCleary from Donaldson's Dairy fills third place in Whitcoul's Kids Top 50 Books list for 2025.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone has set the fastest time in the women's 400 metres since 1985, clocking 47.78 seconds to win at the World Championships. The Roosters have handed Victor Radley a 10-match suspension without pay and ordered him to make a $34,000 cancer research donation after his exposure for hunting out illegal drugs. Jose Mourinho is to coach Benfica, the Portuguese football club where his managerial career began 25 years ago.
Returning to our breaking news this morning, a large shallow earthquake has struck off the west coast of Russia. The magnitude 7.8 quake occurred just before 7 our time at a depth of about 10 kilometres, so it's very shallow. The US tsunami warning system has issued a tsunami alert for Alaska. The earthquake occurred in the same area as the massive 8.8 quake on July 30th, which sparked tsunami alerts and advisories across multiple countries, including New Zealand. However, a National Emergency Management Agency spokesperson has confirmed there is no tsunami risk to New Zealand in this case. Just confirming that, there has been another large earthquake off the coast of Russia, a tsunami alert for Alaska, but no warnings or issues for New Zealand. It is 6 after 8. Here's your weather.
Herald Now Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Ata Maria, good morning. Compared to the week we've had, the weather today is much calmer. That southwest flow over us weakens with a ridge building in. It is short-lived. A new front over the Tasman Sea heads our way for the weekend. So we will enjoy the fine skies today. Even some frost here this morning. Southwesterlies first up, turning north or northwest from this afternoon. Now, the last of the showers clear out this morning for the upper half of the island, leaving a lovely afternoon. Gone, though, are those mild temperatures, back to a high of only 12 for Christchurch. Ki te Ika a Maui to the North Island. A few showers this morning, but they are clearing, gone by midday. Strong southerlies for Wellington will ease this afternoon. Cloudy periods with showers developing this morning out east, but it does clear this afternoon. Winds shift around, southeasterly expected later today for Tauranga, Rotorua and Taupo. And mainly fine for the upper north. Yes, still a few showers around, but nothing too disruptive with southwesterlies across the day.
You're watching Herald Now. More on the economy, on that Q2 GDP read yesterday. Let's go to Nicola Willis, who joins us by phone this morning. The Finance Minister. Minister, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
There's a lot of reporting about your confidence that the Prime Minister hasn't had in you yesterday. Did you offer to resign over that number?
No, I didn't. I got asked in a press conference whether he was confident in me, and I said that yes, he was. And that's based on the fact that he and I speak about the economy almost every day. We're very joined up, and I know he has complete confidence in the plan that the government is delivering and my leadership of that economic growth agenda.
How frustrated are you in the Reserve Bank?
Well, look, I'm obviously refreshing the Reserve Bank. We've had a change at the chair. We will shortly appoint the permanent governor. I'm looking forward to that. I think the Reserve Bank will be looking hard at this data because they clearly underestimated the contraction that was occurring in the economy in the second quarter of this year. and I'm sure that will have an influence on their future decision making.
Who's the new governor?
I can't let you know, Ryan. I have to save it for the proper announcement.
Do we know when that's going to happen?
Yes, it's going to happen very shortly.
As in today?
Not today.
Oh,
not
okay.
Today.
And is it someone from outside of the Reserve Bank?
I'm not allowed to confirm any of that, but I understand why you want to know, and I can assure you that you'll be finding out very soon. We've had a thorough appointment process. We had significant interest in the position, both from domestic and international applicants. They were of a very high calibre, and I have complete confidence in the recommendation the board made to the government and the appointment we will soon make.
Okay. So let me put this question another way then. Are you confident that this new governor will be able to undertake a decent and meaningful refresh and perhaps lead the bank in a slightly different direction to the one it's been following of late?
Well, I'm confident that the incoming governor understands fully what is required of them. And as a government, we, of course, have been refreshing the Monetary Policy Committee and the board. I announced a new appointment to the Monetary Policy Committee just yesterday, and I think that those refreshments in leadership are important.
A lot of people are saying, well, you should be throwing money at this problem now, going back on, negating everything you have said and been elected on. So I know that's not going to happen. But do you actually double down on some things? Do you cut further into wasteful spending in the public service? As a result of where we are you going to change anything at all?
Well, as you say, there's one group of people saying, just throw the book out the door, borrow up a storm and keep spending. On the other side, there's a group of people led by Roger Douglas at this point who are saying, slash spending overnight. Neither of those is the right course, Ryan. Actually, what we need to do is take the economic wisdom of those internationally and over time that say, do your fiscal consolidation gradually, which is what we're doing, getting the books back into balance, in 28, 29, getting the debt curve curving down. And for now, invest in the things that are going to shore up growth. That's why we've added more funding to infrastructure investments. That's why we've continued to support education and health services that are required for our economic resilience now and our growth in future. But it's actually really important we do the things to speed up private business investment as well, which is why we have done the investment boost tax policy to give businesses a nudge to invest a bit more in their own capital and machinery. It's also really important that we fast track those private developments that people want to get spades in the ground on, which is what the fast track legislation is about. And yesterday we had another fast track project announced.
The housing one in Nelson. Hey, Minister, we had a business owner on this morning, and very stressed business owner who said he can understand why people, in very stressful situations think about, mental health and potentially harming themselves. It's that bad, right? This is in manufacturing, construction-related industries. His name's Chris Barrett, Steelworks Group Director. He said this morning he feels really let down. A lot of business owners feel the same way. You said the economy would get better, and it's obviously battling. But at the same time, IRD's been beefed up to go after businesses, and they're breathing down their necks, and they're the leading cause of liquidations at the moment. What do you say to that?
Well, I just first say that it has been a really gruelling time for many businesses, and in fact many New Zealanders. This has been a very hard-fought economic recovery after a very difficult few years of sky-high inflation and soaring interest rates. So I understand where he's coming from. In terms of the IRD, there had been significant outstanding tax debt built up during the COVID years. And I think it would be the wrong thing for the government to say, well, we're just going to write all of that off. Actually, when people owe tax, they do have to pay it. It's one of the basic social contracts that we have, that the law is the law and you have to pay your tax. IRD are willing to work with business owners on plans for how they repay that debt, and I encourage any business owner who is facing stress in that regard to just proactively contact IRD, make a plan, because that is the best way that they can help.
All right, Minister, really appreciate your time on the phone this morning. Thanks for being with me. That is Nicola Willis, Finance Minister, 13 after 8. You're watching Herald Now. Up next, a father and son who've been recognised for their heroic actions, saving 17 people during Cyclone Gabrielle. That's next.
Are you considering a DIY kitchen but just not sure if you can do it? Well, it's not as hard as you think. With You Do It DIY Kitchens, you're in safe hands.
And the customer support team really know their stuff. After all, they design and manufacture everything here in New Zealand.
You do it, and you save money. So choose You Do It, the affordable DIY Kiwi kitchen with a great reputation. Visit newsroom.co.nz.
And R&B. Flavour.
I'm Hayden Scott and I'm a knife maker. I make knives from my workshop at home in West Auckland. Yeah, my previous life I was a chef, did that for 25 years, but I had this knife making thing that I was doing and had been doing for some time, and so that transition from finishing that 25-year career and taking the plunge into full-time knife maker, I had been building up to that, but I still had to take a leap.
Ah, here she is. How's the business going?
Good, actually. We just switched to 2 degrees. Well, we tested the networks and couldn't see any difference, but 2 degrees has the most satisfied customers. With Flex, we get instant control of phone plans, data usage, and cost centre reporting. And they're the fastest growing business network.
Can have what she's having.
Welcome back. It's Herald Now on your Friday morning, 8:15. We'll get to the father and son heroes of Cyclone Gabrielle in just a second. First, it's fast approaching crunch time for Kiwi Formula One driver Liam Lawson. With 8 races left in the season, he's 15th in the Drivers' Championship. More importantly, well behind his Racing Bulls teammate Isaac Hadger, as they compete to see who'll be promoted to the top Red Bull team. Overnight, Lawson held a rare pre-race interview with Kiwi media ahead of this weekend's Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
The way I approach racing, the way I approach just everything, training in general and being with the team, I think for me, especially in the early years, it was so exciting and such a big deal for me that because I'd wanted it, for so long since I was very young, and I was just very, very excited to be stepping into the world of Formula One, and over the years, maybe just being focused on the driving, on the job, and not really thinking too much about a lot of the other stuff that is really what Formula One has. Obviously, it's a lot of attention, a lot of media and things, and I would say I'd say the mental side of Formula One is probably the hardest part, maybe. Dealing with the pressure of being in the sport. There's obviously a lot of noise, a lot of media, and even from just within the team, a lot of pressure, especially in Red Bull. It's something that we've had since we were very, very young, and that doesn't really change. So dealing with the pressure, trying to perform under pressure is something that we spend a lot of time trying to focus on.
Just wondering, in the context of this season and everything that's happened, what would the chance to have another year at V-Carb next year mean to you?
It would mean a lot. I think the main thing is, obviously just having a seat in the sport and continuing racing. It's things move forward very, very quickly in Formula One, and I felt it when I was reserve and I was watching. And now that I'm in the seat, the season's gone extremely fast. To think that we're 8 races away, 9 races, 8 races, something like that. So maybe even less. How many races are left? 7 or 8 races. It's not many. 7. So it's crazy how quickly the season goes and how quickly things move. So I think that's been a huge side of it, really, especially on the performance side, is trying to obviously stay grounded when you have good weekends, bad weekends, and keep the sort of mind reset for the next one. But I think the main thing for next year is to stay in Formula One, keep racing, because I think that's the only way anyway that you can obviously prove yourself in the sport.
Looking from the outside in, it does appear as though that you have taken on the sort of leadership role between yourself and Isaac. Is that the case? Are you almost the senior figure?
I don't think so. I think obviously I have a little bit more experience, but I think at the same time, the way I sort of came into Formula One was quite different to others. So especially going into this year, obviously with a different team and then moving at the start of the year, to be honest, I was probably less prepared for this specific role, just because of the way that the season started. But I think at the same time, we're both obviously trying to push the team forwards, and I think the car's in a good place at the moment. And I think that's the approach from both of us, to be honest.
That was Red Bull Formula One driver Liam Lawson speaking ahead of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix this weekend. Time now is 19 minutes after 8. A father and son have been recognised for their heroic actions, saving 17 people from floodwaters during Cyclone Gabrielle. Tim and Matt Dodge yesterday received the Stanhope Medal at a ceremony in Wellington. Tim Dodge, the father of the two, is with me this morning live. Tim, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Hey, good to have you on the program. I want to get to the medal and what the ceremony was like for you and Matt in just a second. But first of all, can you take us back to February 2023. Take us back to the day that all of this happened. You got the call up to go and help, I understand. You had your excavator, you had your digger. You got a call up from the council to do some work, but the bank was already flooded. Is that right?
Yeah, we couldn't get our mission, so we just got the tech support mission and sort yourselves out and do what you can.
And what did you end up doing?
Well, we actually turned around and we were sort of parked the floodwaters in the truck, and we eyeballed 5 young people on the roof of a house that had been there since 5 a.m. It was now about 11 o'clock, I think, and Matt unloaded the digger off the transporter, and he crossed over. Luckily, he knew where he was, and he got them off the roof of the house with the excavator and brought them back to the truck. And then we sort of weren't sure what to do because the water was pretty deep. So we sat there for a while, and someone brought us a cup of tea, and we did that. And then all of a sudden, I don't know why, but we decided to try and get back to Pakawai Road. And as we did, we came around the roundabout into Pakawai Road, and there was a police officer way down the road, they said, waving his hands. So we shot off down there, and probably just in the lick of time. And he informed us it was, I think, 3 officers and 7 civilians. I think that's the number. Caught washed under the trees that no one could get to. It was pretty scary. The helicopter couldn't get there. The boat couldn't get there. And so we unloaded the excavator, and Matt went about his business plucking everybody out with the help of an officer. We then put them in the Land Cruiser and turned the heater on, warmed them up because they'd been in the water a long time. And that's about it. Took off trying to head up Pakawai Road and got absolutely swamped. And in the end, everything went under. But everybody got off okay with the help of a rubber boat. And that's about the end of the story.
Tim, fast forward to yesterday. What was it like at this medal ceremony?
Pretty amazing. Obviously, we went there for the silver medal, so we'd been there before. But it was really cool. Like, the Governor General was just absolutely amazing. She's just so friendly and relaxed, and it was really, really special. Brought it all back. It brought for a lot of tears and eyes, both from myself and everybody there listening to the stories. But pretty surreal to know that we've been given this medal, and King Charles was on the board that made the decision. So, pretty special, pretty humbling. But hey, at the end of the day, we were just a couple of Kiwis doing our bit, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean, Tim. Thanks for doing it, though, because it's it wouldn't be New Zealand without people like you.
Well, what Kiwis are like. They just want to knuckle in and get out the number 8 wire, and away you go.
17 lives saved. Tim, appreciate your time this morning, and pass on our congratulations to Matt as well.
Okay, thank you.
Cheers. Take care. Tim Dodge, Stanhope Medal recipient, along with his son Matt, 23 minutes after 8. Let's get to our panel now with the big issues of the day. Joe Robertson, parenting specialist, on with Sam Stubbs, Simplicity co-founder. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you both.
G'day.
How are we? Joe, I'll start with you on the GDP. I mean, it's backwards.
Oh, really? Let's go to Sam with
Okay,
the
well, we
GDP.
can go to Sam. No, stick to your lane. Know what you're good at.
Yeah.
Sam, it's backwards looking, right? So this is not what's happening now.
Yeah.
So where are you at?
Well, look, we are in a relatively bad position, right? There's no question. If you look at the other big rich countries in the world, our GDP's been pretty bad now for about 18 months. There do seem to be green shoots, and now that interest rates are coming down, half of New Zealand are going to reset their mortgages in the next 6 months. It means they have more money in their pocket. So things will, I think, start to feel better. Doesn't necessarily mean they'll feel good, but they'll just start to feel better. And the most important thing is the trend here. So look, this is the worst economic slowdown we've had actually in my lifetime, and it's lasted longer and the dip has been bigger. That may mean that actually the recovery might be stronger and longer as well. So I wouldn't be completely despondent about it, but we're in a relatively bad place right now.
Yeah, there sort of seems to be a split opinion that now that we've gone lower than we thought, we might not go as high as we thought next quarter, or in the future, but actually it could be the opposite too. I mean, it's anyone's guess. Basically.
Yeah, it is. And also remember, this is relative, right? Like the world is not a happy place right now. No economy is fizzing right now.
No.
So we are actually relatively, in some senses, better off than other parts of the world. I think I'd rather live in New Zealand than an awful lot of the world right now. But that doesn't mean it feels good here, eh? Like it's tough. It's real tough.
Yeah. Joe, do you want to say anything about it, or do you just want to avoid it altogether?
I want to avoid it. I'm out. I've checked out of that.
Do you know what? I think that's fair enough. We've spoken about it.
I don't need to be an expert on everything.
No, I love that. And also we've spoken a hell of a lot about it this morning, so I'm pleased. All right, let's move on. Jimmy Kimmel cancelled. Well, I'm going to ask you about this thing because you've had a bit of a brush with cancel culture this week. But Jimmy Kimmel and the cancel culture thing.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that.
Good. Give it to me. What are
Not
they?
on GDP.
Go for it.
But you have had a brush this week. I'm profoundly shocked, to be honest, by the hypocrisy here. That you've got this person who was tragically killed, absolutely, for being a free speech advocate. Don't love a lot of the things he said. He probably didn't think I should be sitting here right now. But now you've got someone losing their job over essentially free speech. So I just find that very confusing.
It's stupid.
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous and embarrassing.
I think it is embarrassing.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what he said was distasteful. Someone has just died.
Yes.
But he wasn't inciting violence. He wasn't, But do you think maybe, because normally it's generally the far left who are most likely to call for the cancellations.
Yes.
Maybe now that they have seen, how ridiculous it can be, maybe we'll all settle down a bit. I don't know, Sam.
Look, you've got the politics of inequity happening here, right? There are a lot of disenfranchised people out there, don't know what job they'll get, not feeling financially secure. History tells you that these people gravitate to the extremes, right? The far right and the far left. And then they start operating on the politics of fear and anger. And so, we were just talking about this before. America feels to me very much like Germany in about early 1930s. And you start to if you look at Project 2025, it's the same thing. It's about cancel people, suppress dissent, do not allow for freedom of speech. And slowly, these things happen just one at a time. And then, hey, presto, you've got a country in a completely different space. So America feels to me like, I would put the chance of civil war in America now at higher than zero. It was zero a year ago. And because you have disenfranchised people on both sides, balkanising themselves, going to the extremes and just shouting at each other over social media.
Each other.
Yep.
And you've got social media to really fuel that.
It fuels the fire. And because these people feel now as if they have a community and a voice, and so they start talking to each other and they start shouting at the other side. I've experienced it this week. It's noisy and it's vociferous.
Now, what did you say? Because to be honest with you, I caught up with a headline about this, but I haven't quite gone deep dive.
Yeah.
Tell us what you said that got you cancelled.
Yeah. I said, look, we have to be sad about his death because he was killed. So you have to mourn the violence, but you can't mourn the ideas that he stood for. And so, the line was R.I.P. Charlie Kirk, I hope your ideas die with you. They were poorly chosen words. I made a mistake there for sure. And I, cancelled it 5 minutes later. But of course, what happens is that as soon as a member of your tribe is being attacked, then you gather around and you defend that idea and you sling arrows. And that's what happens on social media. It's so easy for it to happen.
So why go on there? Because this is the thing that I don't, because it just seems to me that it's a place where only bad things happen.
Some good things happen, but I do. I mean, an interview I was listening to this morning.
Like a funny meme every now, you know what I mean?
Well, let me give you an example. Look at Facebook. Facebook's great for our communities with renters. We have a Facebook group per building. They talk to each other about babysitting for each other, looking after the kids, they swap information. At that point, it's very useful, it creates communities. Unfortunately, it also divides communities when suddenly you find people who would not otherwise have a voice because they're just too extreme, suddenly find that they have a bullhorn and a voice and they get together. That's the negative side of it. I think you're seeing much more negative now than positive, to be honest with you. Why did I go on it? To be honest with you, mate, it was there, it was open, and I was angry because of some of the things I was hearing. I was listening to him saying a 10-year-old girl who was raped should be forced to carry to full term. That just made me angry. Unfortunately with Facebook, and I'm a victim of this, you get to express your anger quickly.
And then we end up in the sorry, Joe, I interrupted you just before you were going to say something about this.
It was probably profoundly important, but I've forgotten it now.
Sorry, it's like I ask you questions you don't want to answer.
I know, I'm so sorry, but yeah.
The other thing we were going to discuss today was Briscoes and this just frightening prospect that we might lose the Briscoe. Well, actually, I think we're overcooking this. We heard from Shane Curry earlier that she's apparently, according to the Women's Weekly, signed a new contract. So hopefully, but Briscoe's is moving their advertising agency around, this kind of thing. I just think, as Shane said, like Turner's car auctions, Tina from Turner's.
Yes.
Just a very established, well-liked branding.
Yeah, I was thinking this morning, what is, other iconic ads, and Stickman comes to mind from Pack and Save. I don't think that we run the risk of losing Stickman because that's such an affordable kind of marketing strategy. But there are these nostalgic, they're kind of comforting people or caricatures, and I think that the Briscoes lady is one of those. I'm under the impression she's wearing a wig.
Yeah, I think she is.
Yeah, and I love that because that's commitment to the brand. Like, that is deep commitment. I'm impressed.
I wonder who does the voice of Stickman. Has anyone ever wondered? Oh, Paul Ego. Oh, does he? Shit, that'd be a good gig. You don't even have to.
That's your next job.
100%. I'll take it. Hey, what about you? What are some of those ads that
Look, I'm a bit older, so I always remember the warehouse, where everyone gets a bargain.
Also, your next job. That was good.
Yeah. Maybe I'll need a new job.
Yes.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not, Sam.
After this interview.
Hopefully we can all come to our senses.
Hey, can I just say something about that? I am really sad that Charlie Kirk died. I mean, it is murder is murder. That is horrible, right? But we've got to live in a world where you're able to express your views and you have freedom of expression. This Jimmy Kimmel thing, it's sad, man, because what it's saying is that America, the freedom of speech made America great.
Yeah, I
agree. Now we're seeing this get eroding,
Yeah.
I agree. But also, I can understand there'll be people on the right or far right, who cares what are we calling it anymore, but just people on that side who'll be going, this is exactly what you guys have done for years and years.
Right? It becomes a war.
There is wrong on both sides here. As soon as people have extreme views on the extreme left and extreme right, bad things and at least get to influence how everyone else thinks. Bad things happen.
Yeah.
It's not a right or left thing. It's about extreme views.
Moral of the story: get off the internet, everybody. Life will be much better for you. Sam Stubbs, unless you're watching this show, of course.
Yeah, I know. That doesn't work for you.
Stay with this show.
I just realised. Damn it. Joe Robertson, parenting specialist, and Sam Stubbs, Simplicity co-founder. It is 28 minutes away from 9. Here's Neva with headlines.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
Calls for the Reserve Bank to respond swiftly to the latest shock drop in GDP. Our economies contracted 0.9% in the June quarter. Kiwi Bank Chief Economist Jared Kerr says the OCR needs to be cut from 3% to 2.5% as soon as possible and may need to go as low as 2%. He says we should not be seeing another large contraction after last year's severe recession. Kerr says the Reserve Bank hasn't been doing its job and needs to show leadership rather than simply following outdated data. Sir Roger Douglas says Nicola Willis is no longer up to the job. The former finance minister is calling for the current finance minister to resign. Douglas says Willis is sending New Zealand bankrupt by failing to get to grips with ballooning fiscal deficits and public debt. He says she must stop fiddling while Rome burns. More jobs are being advertised, but job seekers are still facing stiff competition for roles. Job website Seeks reporting a 4% annual rise in job ads, the first year-on-year increase in 3 years. But applications per job have also increased to a new record high. Seek country manager Rob Clark says most roles are proving easy to fill, but some are not.
Still really competitive if you're a job seeker, but we still see for highly skilled roles a shortage of talent.
The biggest growth is in manufacturing, transport, logistics, trades and real estate. Fear from victims as the number of people escaping electronic bail grows by the hundreds. Figures released to Newstalk ZB show cases of people absconding from bail involving ankle bracelets rose from 64 in 2015 to 832 last year. As a proportion of individuals on electronic bail, it's an increase from 5% to 14%. The government's chief victims advisor, Ruth Money, says bail is already a very emotional and anxiety-inducing time for victims. Donald Trump is on his way home after a state visit to the United Kingdom. After private talks, Trump and Prime Minister Keir Starmer held a press conference. When asked about Starmer's plan to recognise a Palestinian state, Trump said they disagreed on that score. And he says they want the fighting to stop, but claims Hamas is threatening to use hostages as human shields. Young readers are continuing to pick timeless favourites from the bookshelves. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series returns to the #1 spot, with Dave Pilkey's Dogman series in second. Linley Dodd's classic Harry McCleary from Donaldson's Dairy fills third place in Whitcoul's Kids Top 50 Books list for 2025.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Sydney McLaughlin Levrone has set the fastest time in the women's 400 metres since 1985, clocking 47.78 seconds to win at the World Championships. The Roosters have handed Victor Radley a 10-match suspension without pay and ordered him to make a $34,000 cancer research donation after his exposure for hunting out illegal drugs. Jose Mourinho is to coach Benfica, the Portuguese football club where his managerial career began 25 years ago.
Herald Now Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Atamaria, good morning. Compared to the week we've had, the weather today is much calmer. That southwest flow over us weakens with a ridge building in. It is short-lived. A new front over the Tasman Sea heads our way for the weekend. So we will enjoy the fine skies today. Even some frost here this morning. Southwesterlies first up, turning north or northwest from this afternoon. Now, the last of the showers clear out this morning for the upper half of the island, leaving a lovely afternoon. Gone, though, are those mild temperatures, back to a high of only 12 for Christchurch. Get the Ika Amaui to the North Island. A few showers this morning, but they are clearing, gone by midday. Strong southerlies for Wellington will ease this afternoon. Cloudy periods with showers developing this morning out east, but it does clear this afternoon. Winds shift around, southeasterly expected later today for Tauranga, Rotorua and Taupō. And mainly fine for the upper north. Yes, still a few showers around, but nothing too disruptive with southwesterlies across the day.
One Roof is giving away 3 brand new cars and we at Herald Now are helping them to do it. To enter, go to oneroof.co.nz/win and enter to win one of 3 2025 Suzuki Fronks. There's one to be won every week for 3 weeks. We've already given away one of those, so that means there are 2 left. While you're there and the website, you can suss out some properties with off-street parking for your new Suzuki. And we'll be announcing the winner of the next Suzuki early next week. Time now to talk rural news. Colin Hurst, Fed Farmers Vice President in Waimate in South Canterbury this morning. Colin, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
Good to see you. Hey, what's going on with this nitrate emergency that ECAN's declared?
Very good question. Look, nitrates are an issue, no question about it. And we've known about this for a number of years. In fact, the nitrogen showing up in some of the wells go back to the 60s, elevated levels. Look, the farming community have been on board with us on the journey. And we've just been working to try and make or reduce it. So fertiliser's been dropping. Our cow numbers have been dropping actually in Canterbury. We're fencing off our waterways. And we've got a whole lot of new types of plants that don't cause less of an issue. So, yeah, it's a cheap political stunt, Ryan, is basically what it is on the last day of the council.
I was going to say the vote was 9-7 to vote for this emergency. I mean, how many emergencies do you declare before the word loses all its meaning?
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on from that then. It's as you say, it is an issue. It's been an issue for a very long time. How are things faring heading into spring? We saw the stats out earlier this week. Farmer confidence is up.
Yeah, no, it is up, and it's something we would expect anyway. A lot of our product prices are up, looking really good. Interest rates are down a bit. Still a few issues with some costs. So the milk price is looking very impressive. It looks like there's going to be another a good price there with the announcements from Fonterra, and the meat price is looking good. Looking really positive.
Yeah, because we've got the results from Fonterra. I think it's next week, if I'm not mistaken. When does, just so people know, when we talk about these record payouts and the for the season, when do farmers get paid? How often do they get paid? When would you start to see some of that money not only paying down debt, but also hopefully flowing through into the wider economy?
Yeah, it's a very good question, and I think the key with this is the confidence that farmers have got, and this is a really good result with this confidence survey. The key point is when Fonterra announces its forecast payment, the farmers get a percentage of that, even though they haven't, and they get the payments coming through the year. And as more announcements are made, firming up exactly what that price will be, they will mean they will be getting top-ups through the season. So. Yeah, no, it's really positive. I suppose one of the things that is a bit of a highlight or a bit of an issue, and this is about the confidence of farmers to invest in the future of their farms. And we've still got an element of uncertainty. And this Canterbury situation with the nitrates creates this uncertainty to invest in future systems, and also some of the resource consenting that our farmers are having to do nowadays, and that's creating uncertainty about, or long term. Essentially, when you want to consent, you want to have the certainty that you can get that consent to do whatever you need to do on your farm for a number of years. So there's still a bit of a black mark there, and we're looking to the government to tidy some of this stuff up, Ryan.
All right, appreciate your time this morning for a rural update, Colin. Colin Hurst, Fed Farmers Vice President. Time is 19 away from 9. If you didn't catch up with this from late yesterday, a release come through from Simeon Brown saying that the senior doctors, the union, basically walking away from the talks, so the strikes will happen next week, affecting hospitals around the country. He reckons they threw $160 million at it over the next 16 months. That's extra on top of the original offer. 5,500 senior doctors, and they've said, no, striking. So what does that mean? Well, it means 13,000 patients will be affected. They will have care either cancelled or delayed. 1,800 elective procedures, 3,600 specialist assessments, 7,000 follow-ups, and 800 outpatient procedures going to be affected. Strike happening next week. You got your primary teachers, you got your secondary teachers. Feels a bit like France here at the moment, doesn't it? 18 away from 9 o'clock. After the break, Garth Bray has the day's business news, thanks to our partners 2 Degrees.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
Well, if we switch to 2 Degrees, with Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans, and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then.
Ready?
One Roof Property. Love where you live.
In 1985, my grandfather set out to make the world a better tea. That's why we grow our own, unlike other tea companies. Then pick the best leaves by hand, not machine, and pack it right here in Sri Lanka. But it's not just the taste that makes our tea better. 15% of our profit goes to humanity and to the elephants. As my grandfather said,
do try it.
You Do It delivers high-quality New Zealand-made flat-pack DIY kitchen cabinetry. With flexible widths at your fingertips, it makes designing easy. All at an affordable price because you order online and cut out the middleman. You can even upgrade your dream kitchen with You Do It stylish and clever options, like choosing wall cabinets with overhanging doors, or select from a range of pull-out storage solutions. Add premium soft-close drawers and ask to stretch the height, width or depth of your cabinets. Upgrade your kitchen today and head to nzherald.co.nz.
"16 away from 9 on your Friday morning. Flag football is a minority sport, but growing in popularity both around the world and here in our own backyard. It'll be included in the Olympics for the first time in LA in 2028, and we have a team determined to represent. Mike Fabella is the head coach of the New Zealand national flag football and joins me at the desk, and we're just having a look at some pictures. So a little bit like gridiron?
Yeah, it's a little bit like gridiron, just a smaller, faster version of it. But yeah, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to talk about it. We've got players that are just fizzing to get on the field, and we compete in 4 weeks.
Okay, tell us about the difference. Let's take rugby as a comparison.
Sure.
How does it compare? What's different?
Oh, I mean, it's the equivalent in a way to touch or ripper rugby. So it's, we've got normal fields, but for us, it's going to be a smaller field. So if you've watched traditional gridiron, you've watched a lot of NFL, you notice they've got all the pads and the gear and things like that. Flag football essentially started out as a more cost-effective and safer version to play, right? So you can play it at a much younger age. I'm originally from, the LA area and in California, and so we were 6 years old with helmets on and probably hitting each other too young of an age. And flag football, I wish we would have had that around that same age, because you get to learn the fundamentals of football without all the kind of physical kind of beating that you take in gridiron. But yeah, essentially it is 5v5 for flag football, 40-minute half. So instead of a 3-hour long game that you're watching on ESPN, it's a shorter game, but it's fast-paced, similar to basketball. 5 on attack, 5 on defense, and then essentially you've got 4 plays to try to make halfway and 4 plays to score if you do make halfway. And then essentially, if you've watched NFL or gridiron before, once someone catches the ball, in order to tackle someone, you just pull one of the flags and then you're down at that point. So,
okay, yeah. And how, in terms of the field size, how does that compare?
Yeah, so usually in gridiron, it's about 100 yards in length and then 50 yards in width. And then for us, we're about 70-yard field in length with 25 on each half of the field to score, 10-yard end zones, and then the width is about 25. So it's a smaller field, but it allows for that smaller group of 5-on-5.
Why is it growing in popularity? Is it because of the injury factor, the potential in other sports?
Yeah, I think the potential to reduce injury, it's similar to basketball. You're still going to get banged up a little bit. It happens by accident. But when you look at the type of injuries that are sustained with concussions or just any type of injury, you can come back from an ACL or anything like that and still play. The longevity of flag football, I mean, you've got the American women's quarterback playing at 40 years old, right, representing the USA, and the Intercontinentals in Panama a few weeks ago. And it's a fun game to play. It's not super expensive. You get your boots, you get your shorts, shirt, and your tags, and you're out playing on the field.
It looks fun to play, but how is it as a spectator sport? Because, you look at boxing and then you look at, MMA, which is going the other way, and that's really popular, right?
Yeah.
Do people watch this and sort of, you're kind of waiting for that big crunch.
Yeah.
It never happens.
Yeah. I think the crunches sometimes by accident do happen, and we're trying to limit those crunches. But ultimately, I think it's become really fun for the fans because of the fast pace. When you watch gridiron, there's a lot of really stop-start, and there's a 30 to 40 second play clock and formations and all this stuff to where the game is sped up quite a bit. So you are getting a big basketball flow of back and forth, and it is quite exciting. And from a team perspective, there's not a lot of mistakes you can make. If you get down behind 1 or 2 scores, that almost is it because of the short amount of time you have. Right. So the fast pace is just growing, and it's a lot of fun to watch.
Are we any good? Are we actually going to get to the Olympics here?
Yeah, listen, I think we're really good, and I'm not just biased. I think we have a lot of really good athletes. We, fell a little bit short in the Intercontinentals in Malaysia 2 years ago. We got silver, lost to Thailand at the last second, and then we found out where we were at the world stage in Finland last year, and that is we're this close. And so we've got some returning players this year that are going to represent New Zealand and China, which we go to Ningbo in 4 weeks to compete for our Intercontinental Championships, and that's our World Cup qualifier in Germany next year, and that's part of the Olympic, essentially how we get there.
So you've got the qualifiers in Germany in 2026?
So in order to get to the Olympics in Los Angeles 2028, you have the next 3 years of this sport is really crucial for every country. You either are going to get left behind or you're going to be able to sprint with the pack. And essentially what it looks like is for the next year, or this year, there's different continentals, one in Egypt, Panama, Asia Oceania is going to be in China, and Panama was the Americas. And so you essentially win a bid by your placing in your region to the World Cups. The World Championships are in Germany. You make it to the World Championships in Germany and place well there. That's basically solidifies your world ranking. And then from there, you have 1 more year of Intercontinentals in 27 to qualify for the Olympics.
Few hoops to jump through, yeah.
Few hoops to jump through, but I think, we've got a good group to do some good things in the sport.
Well, I hope to see good things from you. Thanks so much for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
Good to see you. That is Mike Fabella, head coach of the New Zealand national flag football. It's just 11 minutes away from 9 now. You're watching Herald Now. Let's go to business with 2 degrees. The news, our economy shrank much more than expected last quarter, has economists beating the drums for deeper cuts to interest rates. Earlier, I had Garth Bray on Business Desk. Started off by asking him, will they cut more aggressively than they otherwise would have post yesterday's number?
Fair assumption. I mean, we were talking, I think you remember earlier this week, about one bank, the BNZ, saying maybe they need to push that floor below 2.5%, the terminal rate that they think that rates will get to. They're not backing down from that, I think, but they are saying they still see about a 25% basis point cut next time and another 25 before the end of the year, so getting to that range before the end of the year. Westpac's come out a bit stronger, said, no, we think we need that 50 straight away, a little bit like Jared Kerr, I think, earlier. Get in there, get it done, get some stimulation happening now. Because really those data showed, the data that came out yesterday showed that it's pretty much farmers buying equipment and people, gradually doing a bit of real estate sales. That's the only thing that's propping anything up. Everything else looked pretty moribund. I guess the problem though is there's a little bit of an inflation track in there as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll see. We'll see probably. I think October 7 is the only signpost on the way to the next RBNZ decision where there's a quarterly survey of business, and that might give a bit of a clue. But you'd have to be probably quite brave at the RBNZ to be saying, "Oh, we'll go with that," rather than
What are they saying about the projections? Excuse me, the projections for quarter 3? Because some are saying, well, now that we've gone lower, we may not go as high as we thought in quarter 3. Is everyone sharing that view or
I don't
not?
know. No, we're casting around. Certainly, BNZ were talking about a flash forecast to grow 0.7 compared with a 0.3 pick from the bank. So they still think that there's still going to be something coming back.
Higher than what they were projecting.
But everybody was surprised yesterday, I think, by that 0.9. So we're a pretty uncertain territory. And I think it's great that you're asking people what they think this morning, because it's, we obviously need more data.
Exactly. Hey, what's the big Business Desk exclusive today about Stuart Nash?
Yes, occasional panellist, possible New Zealand First member and so on. He was heading off on a business trip to the US alongside the Immigration Minister, Erica Stanford. That got pulled. The official reason, I think, reported at the time was, because he made some rather off-color comments on another webcast or something somewhere, and that got him in trouble. However, he's also been pitching a $16 million investment, part of a group in essential Manuka oils, to potential rich investors who might want to settle here under the that golden visa program. And the pitch documents talk about it having a degree of government backing that doesn't quite exist. This is a tribal natural healthcare investment, and it talks about it qualifying for offer via the Live Deals Board to foreign investors. That's a website or a system that Invest NZ sets up to offer these things under kind of a degree of scrutiny that, you can offer them to these people. And apparently, no, was never on the board, hasn't been on the board yet. The company, which when we reached out to them, said, we've finally got that paperwork through. Business Desk was raising this. Our founding editor, Patrick Smelly's been onto this for the week. He got in touch with Invest NZ, said, hey, what's going on here? Invest NZ's boss was travelling in Saudi Arabia with Roger McLeay. Next thing, Roger McLeay says, I don't think Stuart needs to be on this trip, and veto, gone. Mr Nash hasn't responded yet. It's highlighted. Is it
all a bit shady? Is it just
yeah, but it's also highlighted a problem with, you've got to have some kind of a system for offering these deals to people, but does that then imply, once they're on this board, that they have some sort of government backing, government endorsement? That really isn't there. They're really it's just an offer.
All right. Lastly, this morning, a cloud for $1. Very quickly, Garth, what's this about?
The cloud, built for the Rugby World Cup 2011. It was temporary.
Yeah.
Still there.
Great venue.
Still there.
Bit cold, but...
Great, but yeah. The resorts consents and everything are up for it next year, so the council's got to come up with some sort of a plan. The government owns half of it. I think they put about $20 million into buying the wharf, maybe $10 million to buying that, probably looking at selling it back to the council for $1, because obviously there'll be some other costs going on to keep it going.
Yeah.
Nothing temporary in this country. It always sticks around forever.
It does. The cardboard cathedral things stick around. It is 6 minutes away from 9 on Herald Now. That was Garth Bray from Business Desk a little earlier on the program. Good news that I have saved the very best till last. I forgot to mention this earlier in the program, but we had the Seek Employment Report. This is for August, and it is good news. Clear signs that there is hiring activity or hiring intentions picking up. This after the shocker Q2 number yesterday, of course. Jobs have been basically flat from October last year until May this year, but... drum roll, wait for it. Volumes have begun to increase, up 1% month on month. Prior 2 months have also been adjusted up, so that's a 1% increase respectively. Annual growth now up 4% for job ads, according to the Seek data. That is the first time job ads have grown year on year since November of 2022. Applications per job also up 2% for July. So this is across the board. It's broad-based, which is good news. We'll take that. Ryan says, Adrian, it's clear Nicola Willis is unable to comprehend the functioning of the economy and, along with the Prime Minister, lacks the imagination to develop a plan and vision. Sir Roger was right about everything. Someone should make hats. I always find it funny when the left is quoting Sir Roger Douglas. Ryan, you need a better chair, says Rob. Yeah, I know. Right, let's go to check in on what's happening at nzherald.co.nz with Katie Oliver. Katie, there's been a bit of drama at Auckland Airport this morning. What's this about?
Yes, so Auckland Airport is anticipating their busiest day of the year, with 15,000 people today alone. And over the next 2 weeks with school holidays, they're expecting 1 million people. That's up 6% from last year. So it's going to be a busy day at the airport, and they're just advising anyone who's travelling, whether you're going down south or going overseas, to allow plenty of time because it's going to be packed. Now, speaking of the airport, they're opening their new hangar. So Christopher Luxon's down there, and that is actually quite big. It's 10,000 square metres, and it's got the largest single-span timber arch aircraft hangar in the southern hemisphere. So this can accommodate a wide-body aircraft and 2 narrow-body aircraft side by side. So they're going to be able to do lots of work on aircraft over the coming decades. And Greg Foran and Christopher Luxon were down there having old chats, catching up.
Great. Did you say it's the busiest day at the airport this year?
Yeah, thus far.
So far. Okay, I was going to say, what about Christmas?
No, yes, Christmas. No, Christmas is coming.
Christmas is coming.
Don't remind
me. Thank you. Katie Oliver is from the Herald, and we'll do an update on that at Christmas, I suppose. Right, let's get to the rest of the morning's headlines with Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
Calls for the Reserve Bank to respond swiftly to the latest shock drop in GDP. Our economies contracted 0.9% in the June quarter. Kiwi Bank Chief Economist Jared Kerr says the OCR needs to be cut from 3% to 2.5% as soon as possible and may need to go as low as 2%. He says we should not be seeing another large contraction after last year's severe recession. Kerr says the Reserve Bank hasn't been doing its job and needs to show leadership rather than simply following outdated data. Sir Roger Douglas says Nicola Willis is no longer up to the job. The former finance minister is calling for the current finance minister to resign. Douglas says Willis is sending New Zealand bankrupt by failing to get to grips with ballooning fiscal deficits and public debt. He says she must stop fiddling while Rome burns. More jobs are being advertised, but job seekers are still facing stiff competition for roles. Job website Seeks reporting a 4% annual rise in job ads, the first year-on-year increase in 3 years. But applications per job have also increased to a new record high. Seek country manager Rob Clark says most roles are proving easy to fill, but some are not.
Still really competitive if you're a job seeker, but we still see for highly skilled roles a shortage of talent.
The biggest growth is in manufacturing, transport, logistics, trades and real estate. Fear from victims as the number of people escaping electronic bail grows by the hundreds. Figures released to Newstalk ZB show cases of people absconding from bail involving ankle bracelets rose from 64 in 2015 to 832 last year. As a proportion of individuals on electronic bail, it's an increase from 5% to 14%. The government's chief victims advisor, Ruth Money, says bail is already a very emotional and anxiety-inducing time for victims. Donald Trump is on his way home after a state visit to the United Kingdom. After private talks, Trump and Prime Minister Keir Starmer held a press conference. When asked about Starmer's plan to recognise a Palestinian state, Trump said they disagreed on that score. And he says they want the fighting to stop, but claims Hamas is threatening to use hostages as human shields. Young readers are continuing to pick timeless favourites from the bookshelves. J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series returns to the #1 spot, with Dave Pilkey's Dogman series in second. Lynley Dodd's classic Harry McCleary from Donaldson's Dairy fills third place in Whitcoul's Kids Top 50 Books list for 2025.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
Sydney McLaughlin-Levrone has set the fastest time in the women's 400 metres since 1985, clocking 47.78 seconds to win at the World Championships. The Roosters have handed Victor Radley a 10-match suspension without pay and ordered him to make a $34,000 cancer research donation after his exposure for hunting out illegal drugs. Jose Mourinho is to coach Benfica, the Portuguese football club where his managerial career began 25 years ago.
Herald Now Weather, brought to you by You Do It Kitchens.
Atamarie, good morning. Compared to the week we've had, the weather today is much calmer. That southwest flow over us weakens with a ridge building in. It is short-lived. A new front over the Tasman Sea heads our way for the weekend. So we will enjoy the fine skies today. Even some frost here this morning. Southwesterlies first up, turning north or northwest from this afternoon. Now, the last of the showers clear out this morning for the upper half of the island, leaving a lovely afternoon. Gone, though, are those mild temperatures, back to a high of only 12 for Christchurch. Get the Ika a Maui to the North Island. A few showers this morning, but they are clearing, gone by midday. Strong southerlies for Wellington will ease this afternoon. Cloudy periods with showers developing this morning out east, but it does clear this afternoon. Winds shift around, southeasterly expected later today for Tauranga, Rotorua and Taupo. And mainly fine for the upper north. Yes, still a few showers around, but nothing too disruptive with southwesterlies across the day.
And that's it for us for your Friday morning. Thanks so much for watching. More news in the meantime, nzherald.co.nz. Just a note, I'll be covering Newstalk ZB Drive next week, so you won't hear me on Newstalk ZB early editions from 5, and I won't be here with you for a week, but you will be in the more than capable hands of Michael Morra from the Herald newsroom. He'll be here from Monday through Friday. So until Monday week, have a good one. See you later. Have a good weekend.